Many known tigers have been reported missing in India, and tiger, leopard and other cat skins are on open sale in several countries of Southeast Asia. Although these countries often have legal controls, it doesn't seem to affect the open trade. But nowadays it's not so much skins which the poachers are after, it's the demand for bones which are used in Chinese medicine. Officials in Nepal have told me that they found sacks of bones in a post office, and people carrying bones towards the Chinese border in Tibet. I have photographs of tiger bones on sale in Laos and Taiwan, which Taiwan is a producer of medicines, of course. One factory there alone was reported by a trade magazine as importing 2 tons of tiger bone every year to produce 100,000 bottles of wine. And this represents the death of up to about 100 tigers. A tiger skeleton weighs about, of a full-grown tiger weighs, say, something in the region of 20 kilos. So Taiwan's never had wild tigers, and China, which once had thousands, has fewer than 100. I told the meeting that I was very much afraid that this whole situation was very like the problem of the African rhinos, where mysteriously rhinos began to disappear in northern Kenya about 20 years ago, and nobody was quite sure what was happening. But then it was discovered that rhino horn was going to North Yemen to be made into dagger handles. The young men had become affluent from earning big money in Saudi Arabia and were able to afford these decorative daggers. And of course the Chinese then had to match the prices that the Yemenis were willing to pay. And the poaching of rhinos in Africa has spread in a wave right southwards through Africa. So just at this the meeting unanimously opposed legalization of trade in tiger bones, which the Chinese government has been proposing, on the grounds that it would obviously be a cover for any illegal trade which could wipe out the world's tigers. There's a tiger breeding farm in China, but everybody felt that this could never be an economic proposition and meet the demand for bones for the tiger bone factories. The meeting called for international efforts to persuade the Chinese and Taiwanese governments to stop the use of tiger bone and prevent imports of bones. We recognize, of course, that to change the beliefs, traditional beliefs of hundreds of millions of people in China in the efficacy of tiger bone is very difficult, to say the least. I might mention that I picked up a packet of tiger bone medicine, a plaster said to be made of musk and tiger bone in Geneva among the Chinese community there. And this was for treating rheumatism and various body pains. And the Chinese journalist who used it, and of course we all know journalists are very intelligent people, he swore by it, but I think the content of the medicine was in fact, the effective component was menthol, and that tiger bone was something that, just a name which gave it all strength. The conservation efforts in Nepal, but we do feel that it has led to a great deal of complacency, not only in those countries, but among all of us around the world. We felt the tiger had been saved, and although for several years now we have had reports of poaching, and we've seen skins appearing on markets, it hasn't really worried us. But this year the disappearance of these known tigers in various areas did give us great concern. And so we feel the time has come for renewed efforts to protect the tiger and its habitat and prey species in the face of this threat. We reviewed the situation in India's special tiger reserves and found that effective protection and management was hampered in in many of them by militant political activities. Park officials and guards had been killed and intimidated, and poachers given a free rein. 9 of the 18 tiger reserves have severe problems. This, of course, makes it very difficult indeed for Project Tiger to do the job that it wants to do. We took special note that there's a case currently before the Supreme Court concerning mining in and around the Suriska Tiger Reserve. Despite a year-old stay order, the mining has been going on, and we just hope that the court decision will be in favour of the integrity of the reserve. But one of the problems there is that the park boundaries have not been legalized and demarcated, and a report 2 years ago by the Institute of Public Administration in India, headed by Shekhar Singh, noted that legal formalities for the boundaries and establishment of most of India's national parks and sanctuaries had not been completed. We also discussed the question, how do you count tigers? They're very secretive animals. India is the only country which has actually tried to have a, well, I was going to say a head count, but it's actually a pug mark, a footprint count. It's in some areas, these obviously it's fairly easy to count pug marks, because in areas like Rajasthan, Suriska, Ranthambore, for example, they are fairly open habitats, and the ground is very suitable for recording the pug marks. But in other places, take Namdapur up in the far northeast of India, reserves like Indravati, Nagarjunasagar, and so on, it's extremely difficult indeed to count pug marks and to get a really good measure of the number of tigers there. So we suggest that efforts should be made to develop techniques suitable for these varying habitats. Many of the experts with great experience of tigers stress that there's a great value in regular daily monitoring of tiger presence by the staff. It helps to assess tiger numbers and provides an early warning of declines. Such monitoring really could probably mean that sort of full censuses, which can be quite expensive and difficult to carry out, might be unnecessary. Anyway, it was agreed an expert committee could be proposed to assist Project Tiger in planning future censuses. We were privileged to have at various times during the meeting the Minister for Environment and Forests, Mr. Kamal Nath, the Secretary of the Ministry, Mr. Rajamani, Dr. Karan Singh, who was the Cabinet Minister in charge of Project Tiger when it was launched 20 years ago, and also Mr. Jaswant Singh of the BJP, who's chairman of the Lok Sabha Committee on Environment and Forests. They expressed their support for renewed efforts to save the tiger from extinction. The people at the meeting included 20 specialists on cats, wildlife management research, and they included Mr. S.C. Day, the Director of Wildlife Preservation of the Government of India, and Mr. Oren Ghosh, the Director of Project Tiger, who is a member of our group, in fact. Then, of course, there are severe problems of human pressure around reserves. The human population has risen by nearly 50% in the past 20 years, and we've all felt that it's most essential that eco-development programs go ahead to provide the essential resources, medical facilities, environmental education, and schemes to produce income for local people in order to gain their support, which is notably lacking at the present time. We believe that the law courts should take firm and speedy action in poaching cases and impose deterrent sentences, and that might even be a case for having special courts. The leniency in poaching cases, which has been evident, has not only encouraged poachers, but has demoralized wildlife officials who make great efforts to bring cases to court. One important thing we feel would be to have substantial rewards for information leading to the prosecution of poachers, and even more those who are engaged in organizing the illegal wildlife trade. This system is being used very successfully by the police, income tax and excise departments. And we were told that this has worked very well in Nepal in finding particularly rhino poachers, but also tiger poachers as well. On tourism, we felt that well-regulated tourism could contribute to conservation, and that there should be good cooperation between the tourist agencies and reserve staff. There's just a slight modification in at the top of the third page. We've said that action should be taken to carry out the recommendations of the very little, if at all, research and monitoring. It's wrong to say if at all. There has been some research and monitoring in Kanha National Park, notably, and maybe one or two others. But generally, it needs more attention, and Mr. Oren Ghosh explained that steps were being taken to promote research, including by outside bodies such as universities and scientific institutions and independent consultants. Well, we didn't only talk about tigers, we talked about the Asiatic lion. In the Gir forest is the last population, and I'd like to express our thanks to Taj Hotels for giving us free conference facilities, including for this press conference. So thank you.